Hello, Dynasty women. They never see her coming, yet when she leaves, they feel the void. Some people demand attention, others chase validation, but the Sigma female? She moves in silence, watching, calculating, and then, without warning, she redefines the entire game. Here's a fact. Most people will never truly understand a Sigma female. Not because she's mysterious for the sake of it, but because she operates on a frequency that few can even detect, let alone match. She doesn't play by the rules. In fact, she doesn't even acknowledge that a rule book exists. Ever met someone who effortlessly raises the bar without announcing it? That's her. She doesn't just enter a room. She changes the entire dynamic without lifting a finger. And by the time people realize it, she's already 3 moves ahead, sipping her coffee, unbothered. So what makes Sigma females the ultimate game changers? How do they consistently set new standards while others struggle to keep up? Buckle up, because once you understand the way she moves, you'll never see power the same way again. Number 1. They redefine what power looks like. Power is often loud, flashing wealth, barking orders, demanding attention. But a Sigma female? She doesn't need any of that. Her power isn't about control, status, or forcing her presence into the room. It's in the fact that she is untouchable, mentally, emotionally, and strategically. People can't figure her out, and that alone makes her dangerous in the best way. She doesn't play the dominance game because she doesn't need to. While others fight for the spotlight, she's operating from the shadows, quietly pulling the strings. She doesn't announce her moves, yet when she makes them, they leave a lasting impact. Mentally, she is in a league of her own. She doesn't react, she calculates. People can throw their worst at her, and she won't flinch. Why? Because she's already 10 steps ahead, predicting every move before it happens. Her mind is her fortress, and very few have the key to get inside. Emotionally, she is unreadable. Not because she lacks feelings, but because she refuses to be ruled by them. While others get caught up in ego battles and petty conflicts, she remains steady. No one gets the satisfaction of seeing her shaken. You can try to manipulate her, guilt-trip her, or break her down. But good luck finding a weakness to exploit. Strategically, she plays the long game. She's not interested in impulsive wins or proving points in the moment. She lets people think they've won, knowing that her real victory is unfolding behind the scenes. She removes herself from situations that don't serve her, not out of weakness, but because she knows her energy is too valuable to waste. And that's the thing. Her power isn't in seeking approval or asserting dominance. It's in the fact that she doesn't need validation from anyone. People either respect her or stay confused by her, but they can never control her. And that is why she always wins, without ever needing to fight. Number 2. They train their minds like athletes train their bodies. A Sigma female doesn't just think. She trains her mind with the same intensity an athlete trains their body. While most people let emotions cloud their judgment, she sharpens her focus like a blade, ensuring that nothing and no one can shake her foundation. She knows that in a world where people crumble under pressure, the sharpest mind always wins. She doesn't drown in overthinking or self-doubt. Instead, she practices mental discipline, filtering out distractions, unnecessary drama, and emotional baggage. She isn't controlled by impulses, she masters them. While others react in the heat of the moment, she steps back, processes, and calculates her next move with surgical precision. Her mind is her strongest weapon, and she protects it fiercely. She doesn't waste time absorbing negativity, scrolling mindlessly, or engaging in meaningless debates. Instead, she fills her head with knowledge, strategy, and problem-solving skills. She studies people, not to impress them, but to understand how they operate. She absorbs information, not to show off, but to stay 10 steps ahead. And like an athlete pushing past physical limits, she embraces discomfort. She doesn't shy away from challenges. She actively seeks them out. If something makes her uncomfortable, she knows it's an opportunity to grow stronger. While others avoid failure, she leans into it, knowing that every loss is just another lesson sharpening her edge. This kind of mental training makes her unpredictable, unshakable, and ultimately unstoppable. You can try to throw her off course, but she's already adapted. You can try to get under her skin, but she's already hardened against manipulation. She is not just smart, She is mentally indestructible. And in a world where weak minds fold under pressure, a Sigma female stands firm, because she is trained for this her entire life. Number 3. They treat relationships like business deals. Emotion never overrules logic. A Sigma female does not engage in relationships just for the sake of it. She sees them as investments, and like any smart investor, she expects a return, whether it's emotional support, intellectual stimulation, or genuine connection. If the relationship is one-sided, draining, or built on nostalgia instead of real value, she won't hesitate to cut ties. She doesn't believe in staying just because it's been so long or it's family. History doesn't buy loyalty, actions do. She observes how people treat her in the present, not just the past. If someone brings more stress than support, she won't waste time trying to fix it. She will detach and move forward, no explanation needed. Unlike most people who get blinded by emotions, she maintains a clear, logical perspective. If a friendship is based on convenience rather than mutual growth, she lets it go. If a romantic partner drains her energy instead of elevating her, she walks away. If family members expect unconditional loyalty but offer nothing in return, she redefines what family means to her. This isn't coldness, it's efficiency. She loves deeply, but she refuses to love blindly. She values authenticity over attachment, respect over obligation, and quality over quantity. If a relationship isn't built on trust, mutual effort, and alignment, she will not force it to survive. And here's what most people don't understand. When a Sigma female leaves, she never comes back. There are no second chances, no drawn-out goodbyes. She makes her decision, and she moves forward without looking back. People may call her ruthless, but she's not. She's just unwilling to carry dead weight. Number 4. They make people work for their energy. A Sigma female's energy is not a free resource. She doesn't throw it around for attention, nor does she feel the need to prove herself to anyone. Unlike alphas, who assert dominance by demanding recognition, or betas, who seek approval, she operates on a completely different level, one where access to her is a privilege, not a given. She moves in silence, observing people before deciding if they are worth her time. Not everyone deserves her presence, and she makes sure they know it. She doesn't waste energy on meaningless conversations, pointless arguments, or people who drain her. If someone wants her insight, her loyalty, or her time, they have to show that they bring something of equal value to the table. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. She understands that energy is currency, and she refuses to spend hers on people who haven't earned it. She doesn't give second chances to those who take her for granted, and she definitely doesn't entertain those who think they can just exist in her space without contributing anything meaningful. Her exclusivity makes her irresistible. People are drawn to her not because she seeks their validation, but because she doesn't need it. The less available she is, the more others crave her attention. And when she does choose to engage, it's never out of obligation. It's because she sees potential, intelligence, or authenticity in the other person. This is what sets her apart. She doesn't chase people, and she doesn't beg for connections. She lets people prove themselves. If they can't, they don't get access. Simple. Number 5. They know how to be ruthless without losing their humanity. A Sigma female understands that the world isn't black and white. There's a time for kindness, and there's a time for ruthlessness, and she knows exactly when to switch between the two. Unlike most people who either let emotions control them or suppress them entirely, she has mastered the balance. She is not cruel for the sake of it, nor does she allow herself to be taken advantage of in the name of kindness. She helps those who deserve it, but never at the cost of her own well-being. If she senses manipulation, entitlement, or disrespect, her warmth vanishes instantly. She doesn't warn, explain, or negotiate. She simply removes herself or the problem without hesitation. This ability to be both compassionate and cold is what makes her dangerous in the best way. People never quite know which version of her they'll get, and that keeps them on their toes. One moment, she's the most understanding person in the room. The next, she's shutting down nonsense with an icy indifference that leaves people questioning whether they ever knew her at all. The key difference between her and others is that her ruthlessness is never emotional. It's calculated. She doesn't lash out in anger or cut people off impulsively. She observes, she analyzes, and when she sees that someone no longer belongs in her space, she makes the final decision without guilt, hesitation, or regret. And yet, she's not heartless. When someone is truly in need, when the pain is real and the intentions are pure, she shows up. She supports, she uplifts, and she gives generously. But only because she has already determined that her compassion won't be wasted, exploited, or expected as a weakness. People often try to test her limits, thinking they can push her kindness to the edge. What they fail to realize is that there is no edge. There's only a sudden drop, and once she decides to let go, there's no coming back. Number 6. They turn the spotlight into a mirror. A Sigma female doesn't seek attention, but when it finds her, she doesn't absorb it. She reflects it back. People often try to analyze her, pick her apart, or figure out what makes her tick. But instead of giving them answers, she turns the focus onto them, exposing what they didn't even realize was hiding beneath the surface. She listens more than she speaks, not because she lacks opinions, but because silence is a tool. While others rush to fill the air with words, she observes. She catches the contradictions, the insecurities, the patterns people don't even notice in themselves. And when she finally does speak, it's not to entertain. It's to drop a sentence so sharp it cuts straight through the nonsense. This is why people leave conversations with her feeling unsettled, intrigued, or even exposed. She doesn't just talk, she forces people to confront themselves. Someone who thought they had her figured out walks away questioning their own choices, their own motives, their own identity, and that's no accident. Sigma females understand something most people don't. People are too busy looking outward to ever see themselves clearly. Society teaches people to analyze others, to judge, to compare, but rarely to reflect. And this is where she wields her greatest power. She doesn't seek validation. She forces self-awareness. It's why some are drawn to her, craving her presence like an unsolved mystery. And it's why others find her unnerving, because deep down they know that when they're around her, they can't hide behind the illusions they've created for themselves. Number 7. They recognize when they're the problem and fix it. A Sigma female doesn't live in denial. She doesn't sugarcoat her mistakes, make excuses, or shift blame onto circumstances or other people. If she's the problem, she owns it, and then she fixes it. Most people go their entire lives running from uncomfortable truths. They blame their failures on bad luck, toxic people, or unfair systems. A Sigma female doesn't have time for that. She knows that the only way to truly be unstoppable is to take brutal accountability for every aspect of her life, even the parts that hurt to admit. If she's stuck in a toxic cycle, she doesn't sit around feeling sorry for herself. She identifies what's keeping her there and cuts it out at the root. If her own habits, fears, or mindset are holding her back, she doesn't make excuses. She reprograms herself to move differently. She doesn't waste energy defending her flaws. Instead, she dissects them, understands them, and then destroys them one by one. This level of self-awareness is rare because it requires something most people lack: the courage to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. A Sigma female would rather confront her own weaknesses than live in a fantasy where she's always the victim. She knows that growth is painful, but stagnation is worse. And here's the difference between her and the rest. She actually follows through. Many people recognize their toxic habits but never change. They acknowledge their fears but let them win. A Sigma female, she doesn't just see the problem, she removes it. If she's in her own way, she doesn't hesitate to reinvent herself from the ground up. She upgrades her mindset, refines her actions, and eliminates any version of herself that no longer serves her goals. It's why she's constantly evolving while others stay the same. She refuses to be trapped by old patterns, outdated beliefs, or self-inflicted limitations. She doesn't just want to be better, she demands it from herself. And that's what makes her unstoppable. While others waste time blaming and complaining, she's already moved on to the next level, because nothing, not even herself, will stand in her way. Number 8. They make absence speak louder than presence. A Sigma female never chases, begs, or forces connections. She understands that real value doesn't come from how loudly you demand attention. It comes from how deeply your presence is felt when you're no longer there. Unlike people who fear being forgotten, she is perfectly fine with walking away, because she knows her absence will do all the talking for her. She doesn't need to announce her worth or prove why she matters. The moment she leaves, the difference is undeniable. Conversations feel duller, the energy shifts, the dynamic collapses in on itself because the person holding it all together is gone. This isn't out of arrogance, it's because she moves with intention. When she's in someone's life, she adds value. She listens when others just wait for their turn to speak. She observes when others overlook. She offers wisdom where others give empty words. People may take this for granted while she's around, assuming she'll always be there. Until she's not. And when she's gone, the vacuum is immediate. The silence is heavy. The realization sets in. She was never just another person in the background. She was the foundation, the difference, the missing piece. This is why a Sigma female never forces anyone to appreciate her. She never fights to stay where she isn't valued. She knows that time will expose everything, and the moment she removes herself, people will feel the loss in ways they never expected. Some try to replace her, thinking they can fill the space she left behind, but it never works, because she is not interchangeable. She is not easily understood, easily replicated, or easily forgotten. And when people finally realize what they had, it's already too late. She never comes back. Number 9. They don't worship hustle culture. They work smarter, not louder. A Sigma female doesn't wear exhaustion as a badge of honor. She doesn't buy into the idea that working harder automatically means working better. While others grind themselves into the ground to prove their dedication, she focuses on efficiency, strategy, and results. Because at the end of the day, outcomes matter more than appearances. She sees through the illusion of hustle culture, the endless late nights, the always busy mentality, the obsession with looking like you're working hard rather than actually making progress. She knows that true success isn't about how much effort you visibly put in, but how effectively you move. This is why she works in silence while others broadcast every struggle. She doesn't need to announce how much she's doing because her results speak for themselves. She optimizes her time, conserves her energy, and finds smarter ways to achieve what others break themselves trying to accomplish. While people compete over who's grinding the hardest, she's already outmaneuvered them with half the effort. She doesn't waste time on unnecessary meetings, endless to-do lists, or tasks that look productive but lead nowhere. Every move she makes is deliberate, calculated, and designed for maximum impact. She values rest as much as action because she knows that a burned-out mind is a weak mind. She steps away when needed, recharges, and comes back sharper than ever. While others wear their exhaustion like a trophy, she stays 3 steps ahead, calm, collected, and completely in control. At the end of the day, she doesn't need to prove how hard she's working, she just wins. Number 10. They are inevitable. A Sigma female doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room to be the most unforgettable presence. She doesn't demand attention, yet she becomes impossible to ignore. Whether people admire her, envy her, or struggle to understand her, one thing is certain. They feel her presence long after she's gone. She operates differently, and that unsettles people. Some are drawn to her mystery, trying to unravel what makes her tick. Others feel threatened by her independence, uncomfortable with someone who refuses to conform, but regardless of where people stand, they remember her. It's not just what she says, but how she moves, how she thinks, how she exists without seeking approval. She has a presence that lingers, in minds, in conversations, in the spaces she's walked away from. Even those who once underestimated her eventually realize she wasn't just another passing face in the crowd. She was a shift, a moment, a lesson. Her impact isn't always immediate, but it's inevitable. A job she left starts to feel different because her quiet efficiency is suddenly missing. A past relationship doesn't hit the same because she set a standard that no one else can meet. A conversation from years ago resurfaces because something she said still rings true. Even in absence, she challenges people. She forces them to reflect, to rethink, to evolve, or at least to wonder. That's what sets her apart. She doesn't just exist in people's memories, she alters them. And by the time people realize what she was, she's already gone, unbothered, unstoppable, and on to the next chapter. Number 11. They're obsessed with information, not gossip. A Sigma female has zero interest in gossip. She doesn't waste mental energy dissecting who said what, who's mad at who, or what pointless drama is unfolding in her social circles. While others are busy watching people, she's busy learning, building, and growing. She understands that information is power, but only if it's the right kind. Useless chatter about other people's lives? That does nothing for her. Instead, she invests her attention in ideas, strategies, and skill building. While others waste time debating irrelevant opinions, she's absorbing knowledge that will actually take her somewhere. This is why she always seems one step ahead. She doesn't fill her mind with distractions. She fills it with solutions, insights, and new perspectives. She studies human behavior, not to gossip about it, but to understand it. She consumes information, not to sound smart in conversations, but to be untouchable in real life. And here's what most people don't realize. She hears everything. Just because she doesn't engage in drama doesn't mean she isn't aware of what's happening around her. The difference: she doesn't react. She watches from a distance, collects the data, and moves accordingly, always making sure she's playing the long game while others are stuck in short-term distractions. This is why people find her so unpredictable. They expect her to care about the same trivial things they do, but she simply doesn't. She has bigger things to focus on. While they're busy talking, she's busy learning. While they're stuck in circles, she's moving forward, quietly, efficiently, and completely unbothered by the noise. Number 12. They never overpromise, but they always overdeliver. A Sigma female doesn't waste time making grand promises. She doesn't try to impress people with flashy words, exaggerated claims, or empty hype. She moves in silence, letting others underestimate her, until she delivers results that leave them speechless. While others overpromise to gain attention or validation, she does the opposite. She stays low-key, reserved, and strategic, never revealing her full hand. She would rather people think less of her than build expectations she isn't willing to meet. But when the time comes to act, she surpasses every assumption, proving her worth without ever having to announce it. This is what makes her dangerous in the best way. People don't see her coming. They assume she's just there, observing, blending in, maybe even indifferent. Then, out of nowhere, she executes flawlessly, leaving everyone scrambling to keep up. Whether it's at work, in relationships, or in personal growth, she delivers results so undeniable that no explanation is needed. And the best part? She never brags about it. While others would gloat, seek credit, or demand recognition, she simply moves on to the next challenge, quietly, efficiently, and with complete control. This is why people remember her, not for what she says, but for what she does. A Sigma female doesn't seek approval, yet she commands respect. She doesn't demand attention, yet her presence is unforgettable. She moves through life on her own terms, silent but powerful, reserved but unstoppable, detached but deeply aware. She raises the bar effortlessly, not by competing, but by existing at a level most can't reach. While others chase validation, she chases mastery. While they burn out proving themselves, she moves smarter, not louder. While they cling to toxic cycles, she cuts ties without hesitation. People may admire her, misunderstand her, or even fear her, but one thing is certain: they never forget her. Because a Sigma female is more than just a presence. She's a force, a shift, a reminder that real power doesn't beg, doesn't boast, and doesn't break. It just is. And by the time people realize what she was, she's already gone. On to the next level, the next challenge, the next evolution of herself. If this resonated with you, don't just sit on it. Take action. Hit that subscribe button and become part of a community that values depth, strategy, and unstoppable energy. Like this video if you felt that power. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and let's keep this conversation going. And most importantly, share this with someone who needs to hear it, because the world needs more people who move with purpose, just like you.